did it. We're here live. Hi, Jessica.
Good morning.
Hey, everybody. We're live today. We're in the morning. Typically, we're in the afternoon, but today we are in the morning, Pacific time and Central time for Jessica. If you're here, please say hello in the comments. We can't see you or hear you. You're kind of like a ghost for us unless you comment. So we're hoping you make some comments and let us know you're here. And I'm really looking forward to having fun with Jessica for the next 20, 30 minutes. So we've met on LinkedIn, as I think so far, other than my daughter, everybody that's been on as a live guest, I have met on LinkedIn. So I'm actually thinking of the guests I've done in the last few months. Every single person on has been someone I have met and connected with on that platform. So we are live, which is so cool because on LinkedIn, we're mostly just messaging and posting. And I love your posts. I love the things that you teach us. So tell us who you are and how we connected.
So I think we connected both via the Social Saturday
Yes.
threads that
Yep.
Veronica or Victoria started. Then also,
Yep.
I think in Amanda's book club in
Yes.
that messaging thread as well, because I think that's
Yep.
where you actually first posted your things about doing LinkedIn stories
Yep.
and
Yep.
how you had been. Your coach said you should get out and do that, and you shared a link for people to like sign up to do it. And that's where it's like, okay, I'll get out of my comfort zone. I get on a LinkedIn Live with somebody, but I think the first availability by that
Yep.
time was actually today at
Yep.
roughly this time, because it was just
Yep.
like, okay, I'll do it. Oh, she doesn't have anything until September. Okay, I'll go in
Yep.
September. But yeah, I
Yep.
think that's how it was first the Social Saturdays.
Yep.
And then after I actually worked up the nerve to do a virtual water chat with somebody, they added me to Amanda's book club, and I think you got added in, and then you posted that, and that's how we connected.
Yep. And I love that you're here, and we've got Bronwyn on and Jenny on, and yes, LinkedIn is an incredible platform. I started connecting with folks and posting right around February, March, and it's just grown, and the support has been phenomenal. Okay, so I love your post. So share what you do.
So basically, my background is I have a PhD in biochemistry, molecular biology, and I spent from undergrad through my last job like over 20 years in higher education. So I had been at the research bench in some shape or form for like since I was 18 until I was 39. I'd realized when I got my PhD, I had an inkling I was on the wrong path, but I was just too stubborn to admit it, because who wants to admit that you just spent 5 years of your life going for this degree that you don't know now what you want to do with it?
Yeah. So what does that inkling feel like?
For me, it was stress and not sleeping and acne like breaking out on my face. So when I get stressed, my body just gives that upset stomach feeling like I'm a teenager again. And then it was just like, okay, I don't think this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
But at that time, I didn't have any connections outside of academia. And my program, there really hadn't been a lot of telling you of like, oh, you should network, you should do all this other stuff. So it's just like, how do I get out?
Yeah.
So I kind of pushed and told myself, going, well, no, you can do it. Just keep going. Then mid 2019, it was just like, no, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not sleeping well. I'm tired. I have no energy. It's like, we're going to just do something different. I'd actually found a book that summer. It was Reboot Your Life, How
Yep.
to Re-energize by Taking a Break. So it's just like, this is what I'm going to do.
Good for
So I
you. Yeah.
actually told my boss, it's just like, hey, I'm not signing the contract again. I'm giving you 5 months to find my replacement. It's like, I can't do this anymore. Taking a break, but then COVID hit.
And that kind of changed, didn't it? Well, our paths aren't that quite that different. I was coaching for I was an internal coach for a corporation, and I'd worked there for about 7 years. In the last couple years, literally I'd wake up going, how can I call off today?
Yeah.
It got just so toxic and so unhappy. And voices in my head, you can push through this, you can do this. I love my clients. So once I'd get on the calls, I love coaching my clients. It was just the corporate leadership that was so bad. And then finally enough was enough. And in February, I said enough, gave my 30 days notice. I've got 90 clients I've been serving, find my replacement. And they did. Everyone's replaceable.
Yep.
That wasn't a problem for them. But it's empowering, right, to listen to our gut and move forward. All right, so we're here. What's your story, right? We're all writing stories and chapters of our lives. Some stories we're super proud of. Some stories were extremely hard and challenging, and we're here to talk about it, right? That's our legacy.
Yeah.
So throwing it out there, share a story that you feel impacted you, might impact people who are listening. What you got?
Basically, like the one that my current story is just still trying to recover from that burnout. So everybody at some point will probably go through some stage of burnout. I found myself like deep in it at the end of 2019 just because I kept ignoring that inner voice that's like, you got to do something different.
Yeah.
You got to do something different. So I've basically spent like the past 2 years slowly working my way out. And as I described it to some friends, is I see myself like on a staircase, just winding my way back up and out of it. So I'm still on that path. And what I tell people is just don't ignore your gut feeling. If you aren't happy, figure out what you can do to change the situation. Because I know not everybody would have had or has the money to say, okay, I'm going to quit my job and do serious self-reflection and personal professional development for 2 years. It's just like, I know not everybody can do that, but it's just like, figure out that small step you can do. Is it trying to talk to your boss saying, hey, can I take a vacation day once a month to have a 3-day weekend to be able to figure something out, or figure out how to take short breaks here and there and do things. But that's like my latest story is just like, okay, I'm working my way out. I'm going towards communications because I think we wouldn't be still in the middle of a pandemic / epidemic if science hasn't been so polarized.
Yeah.
I was just like,
so I'm going to interrupt for a second because I'm so curious how you got into science, and you have a PhD in this amazing field. So what's your story around that?
I was raised in an academic household. My father actually has his PhD, so he teaches at the local university where I did my undergrad and grad. So I was raised around science. I actually remember going into the lab with him on weekends and putting the little pipette tips in the boxes. Nobody enjoyed doing that. And as a kid, I found it fun. It's like, cool, I get to just put these plastic things in these boxes. And I'd make designs and I would just be like doing it. And I found that was enjoyable. And then I started working labs as an undergrad, and I just found it interesting. It's like, cool, you're doing these things to try to answer a question.
Yeah.
It's like trying to put together like a puzzle where you're doing a small section and a lab somewhere else could be doing another small thing. It's just like you're just trying to figure out and answer all these cool questions. So that's how I got into it. I just enjoyed it. And at one point, I wanted to have like my own lab and doing my own research. It was just like marine biology or cancer biology. It's like I had all these ideas. But then once I got going through grad school and then afterwards, I realized I didn't have the high ambition to compete against everybody else for that small amount of federal funding. So
Yeah.
science funding at the national level has dropped dramatically like over the past 20, 30 years. So it's just like everybody's fighting for that itty bitty little piece of the pie. And I enjoy writing. I don't enjoy writing the bland scientific writing that you need to get research funding to do a project.
Well, I love your writing. I love your posts when you make it there. I can understand it, right? I don't have a PhD, certainly not in science. And when you post things about sharing like the genetics of or the breakdown of cancer or whatever, they're really interesting. You're a great writer.
Thank you. And that's actually one of the things that has me going in that direction, is just like knowing that there's so much science that needs to be conveyed, but a lot of researchers have forgotten like how to talk science without throwing out all the jargon words and everything else, to where even people outside their field, we can be going, what are you talking about? We don't have like your background. Can you like use a little bit less scientific jargon? But that's one of the reasons why I'm going in that direction, is just science isn't like this scary thing. It's something that like binds society together. And I feel that if it's conveyed in a way that people can understand it, they'll be like, oh, okay, so we should like go in the direction of like the genetically modified crops to help, because that's actually the best way really to deal with climate change, is to have plants that can deal with the high salt, the drought, the high temperatures, things like that. And it's like modifying plants to deal with that, it's not going to modify us. So I think that's one of the gray areas that science doesn't explain well enough, and people can jump on going, oh, everybody has this fear about how they're calling this, so let's just capitalize on that fear. And that's just like, well, if you try to explain it, it's like maybe we can start getting rid of a little bit of that fear.
Which is an awesome pursuit. So we don't have a lot of 12-year-olds listening today, but I'm hoping, and again, just to repeat, if you're on, say hello in the comments. Let us know you're here. However, we probably have parents or grandparents, of young women, 12-year-old humans, and they might be thinking about writing a chapter around science. What would you want them to know?
It's fun. I mean, science is difficult. Unfortunately, it's just not one of those, ooh, this is something nice and easy. Because if there's always the sayings like, if it was easy, everybody would do it. But I mean, science is just, it's enjoyable. It's one of those things where it's just like, if you think about it, you can go outside and like just look at the insects crawling around and realizing that they're not that much different from us. I mean, everything on life has the same 4 like nucleotides. That code, it's just we're all different based on how those 4 things are connected together.
Yeah. I love it. And hey, Jennifer, thanks for waving. I remember when I was in junior high school having a science teacher that really made it fun. So I like how you said it's fun, because yes, it can be, but it wasn't until I was about in the 6th grade. I can't remember. I'm thinking it was the 6th grade where finally it clicked and it was fun. And then I think I had one high school teacher, biology, that, like you said, we went out and collected insects. Other than that, I didn't go down that field, but it was fun. And that's what makes it different in any subject, right? Is when a teacher makes it fun and enjoyable. I know I just got back from Hawaii. And so I find, when I'm on vacation, I'm a little bit more in tune with my environment, or it's forced upon me. Like in Hawaii, we have chickens and roosters everywhere. So we're eating, shaved Hawaiian ice with chickens and roosters just living with us. They're just a part of everyday life versus, I mean, at home, people would probably try to capture them or kill them or something, right? We're living with them on a daily basis, which is really cool. Yeah. Well, most of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I love science and I love what you post on there. And I do hope, more humans get into science and help us lay people, you know, understand it better.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing with like my Science Tuesdays
Yep.
series that actually idea came up when I was doing an interview for another postdoc position a couple years ago. And I was explaining to the professor, it's like, I help in our teaching lab, teaching the undergrads various molecular biology techniques, and one of them's doing cloning. And this professor is like, why do you do that? We can just call up a company and order the plasmid. Why are you teaching them this outdated technique? And it's just like, it's not outdated. It's something good to know because you never know when a lab would need it. Because actually, I wanted to tell the guy going, well, if your lab runs out of money and you need a plasmid, wouldn't it be nice to have somebody in the lab that could generate it for you?
Yeah.
So that's where that series actually idea cropped up. And I'm actually, once I get towards the end of it, I am going to be weaving it towards like the genetically modified plant crops, and also like plants that are hopefully still being looked into for like biofuel production, since we are getting close to the limit of what we have of the fossil fuels. It's just like there are no more dinosaurs to like compress underground to generate. So doing that, and I've got several other ideas for like other series to be going like on Tuesdays or like on Fridays or something. So I am going to be trying to generate more like science and medical content. It's just a matter of doing enough research and then making sure that I'm writing it in such a way that people without a background in the field can understand it.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Very cool. So you said dinosaurs, and I was when we were driving on Kauai, it's where all the Jurassic Park films were filmed, on Kauai, and it's amazing island. I again can't speak enough about it since it's only been 24 hours, and if I feel a little low energy, I am exhausted. Landed at 1:00 in the morning. And I live about an hour away from the airport. So got home about 2 a.m. And so, yes, it's a little low energy, but well worth it. Worth the vacation time. So when we're talking about burnout, it's time, right? I had, like we were talking before we got on, was it like 2018, 17 since you've been on a vacation?
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. 2018 was my last vacation. So certainly a recipe for burnout when we're not having some fun and unplugging from our everyday world. So what do you do for fun when you unplug from science? What's your fun?
Actually taking my camera out and doing nature photography, bird watching, sitting outside reading, and slowly starting to try to work more craft time into my day. So I actually taught myself how to do cross stitching and needlepoint, and I've got a whole bunch of charms and beads, and I'm going to start actually trying to make some like bracelets and necklaces and maybe even some earrings to like sell on Etsy or something.
There you go. Well, I want to see some of those posts on LinkedIn then.
Yeah.
So if anyone's still listening and wants to share, post in the comments what you do to unplug. What's your fun? My fun is definitely, since I live in San Diego, is a walk on the beach. And I know when it's crowded, when it's not crowded. So I go when it's not crowded. Sometimes I can really time it about 7 p.m. Might be one more person on certain, certain beaches. I'm not even going to say which ones, but I know I'll be like the only one there. Otherwise, it's no fun for me. I don't do crowds real well.
Yeah.
Or unplug for crowds. I have a dog, so so for fun for COVID, I learned how to do sourdough bread. So that sounds pretty cliche, but my brother started it. He's a school teacher. He's a science teacher. My brother, he started the sourdough craze through the family, and then I jumped right on board. So now I'm losing the COVID pounds that I gained during COVID. So a lot of walking. Yeah, definitely a lot of walking. Okay. So what I ask everybody on the show is, look, we're writing chapters, right? So you've written chapters all since you were born, different chapters of your life. Some of my chapters have been great. Learning how to fly an airplane, going through a divorce, not so great, right? But we learn from them. So what's a new chapter for you? What's a sneak peek into the next chapter for Jessica?
The next chapter is going to be creating a freelance science, medical health, communication / consulting business. So basically, I want to help improve how science research, medical research, health issues are communicated from the research world to the general public.
Nice.
Because one thing is there's a lot of stuff out there, and some stuff I think gets hyped up a little bit more than it should. Because a month or so ago, a friend had tagged me in a post on Instagram that another like science graduate student was just like going off on this tirade about the fact that companies are like promoting and selling DNA and RNA supplements to people, saying, oh, if you take this, it'll help you build your DNA and RNA. And it's just like, you do that just by eating normal food. It's like, you don't have to take this tablet that they say is calcium, magnesium, and who knows what else. It's just like, you're just probably helping yourself to a bunch of health risks by taking those, because I don't think they're honest about, or not that they're dishonest, but with it being prioritized, they're not going to say exactly everything that's in it. Because I actually looked at one of the bottles and it was like dried RNA from yeast. It's like, well, there's a whole bunch of RNA in any cell, in any organism. It's like, so what RNA are you saying that you're like drying up and putting in these pellets?
Yeah.
So I'm actually going to be doing a series on just basically nutrition and digestion, and like, if you eat foods, this is how it's broken down. This is how your body then takes all those nutrients and builds up the DNA and RNA in your body.
Yeah. Nice. Yes. And I know I have my son-in-law and my daughter-in-law that just ran the marathon. He has his certifications in nutrition, personal training, weight loss. He has all these wonderful certifications, and he's, very respectful, and says you don't need to have sometimes you need supplements. You might need vitamin D or something. Maybe you do. However, there's a lot of foods you can eat where you don't have to, buy supplements, and obviously people are making money off of them. Yeah.
I mean, true, there are some supplements that you need, like omegas and things, depending on diet, but there's like other ones, like seeing these DNA and RNA. It's just like,
you don't know.
Someone's
making money.
Yeah. It's like, those you definitely don't need to be taking. It's like, those shouldn't be like offered anywhere. Because as I told a friend, my head kind of exploded, because it's like, I'm going to go Google this. And then when I saw like the number of companies and everything, was just like, I did not realize that somehow science education or whatever broke down so much that companies are like, oh, everybody's buying supplements, let's just put these out there too.
Yep. Well, good thing we have you to keep us educated, right? And I can't imagine. I don't even know what your angry would look like, because I don't see that, especially in your posts. They're so calm. All right. So last question. Ask everybody. When you're feeling a little low or need a little extra motivation, is there a book, a story, a movie, a music, poem? What's a go-to for you?
Right now, one of my go-to songs is Fight Song by Rachel Platten.
Yep.
So that's just one that I kind of have playing on background at times. And then also, I'm a big John Bon Jovi fan. I was raised in the 80s. So basically, I have like almost all of their songs that I'll just going, okay, play this playlist, and just have their songs going in the background as well. Or I'll pull up the YouTube
I love
videos.
Music. So for me, that's my go-to is music, whatever song it might be. Hey, Russ, thanks for joining us. We're kind of winding down, but thank you for coming on in. Music for me, there's all kinds of music, to when I'm either needing motivation or feeling lonely or whatever that might be. And it's funny because I think my kids were switched at birth, because neither of them were that into music. and I'll give them some music tidbit. And they'll go like, how do you know all this stuff? So yeah.
Yeah.
But music is a go-to for me for sure.
But yeah, so it'll be like fight song or like John Bon Jovi, or just sometimes I'll just go to my iPod and just say shuffle, and we'll see what the song it starts off with.
Yeah. Yeah. So Russ says shout out for the 80s. All right. So Russ, what's your go-to song or songs? For me, it's Tom Petty. So I'm a little bit older than you, but I'm a Tom Petty fan for sure. And anything that has to do with flying or sailing. So if there's a sailing song or a flying song, I'm all in. Because I lived on a sailboat for 8 years, and then I have my pilot's license. So that's a go-to for me. All right. Well, we're going to wind down. Thank you, Jessica. Anything
You're
else
welcome.
you want to share or think that would impact anybody before I click end?
Not that I can think of.
Well, I appreciate your time, your energy, your education. And I'll see you on LinkedIn.
Yes.
Oh, before we hang up, or hang up, that's okay. Before I end, how do people find you?
Best place right now is on LinkedIn. So okay. I guess people have said there are like several Jessica Matzes on LinkedIn. I never knew I had a common-ish name, but if you search Jessica Matz PhD, I'll pop up. I think I'm the only person, or I'm the only Jessica Matz on Facebook that has
PhD.
That has PhD.
Okay, cool. Yep, and you can put, and if you want, you can go back and put it in the comments, or if somebody asks, we'll see your comments.
Okay.
Okay, cool. All right. Thank you, everybody, for showing up today. Thank you, Jessica.
Yep.